Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. We're here in the Dune Desert near the waterfalls. I have been a very busy bee between episodes. So this skyway, this bridge, it is 5 wide, it transports a bunch of items, and it goes all the way back to our starting base, and it's transporting all the non-basic stuff that we're producing. So I'm not bringing over like iron ingots or iron bars or copper wire or any of that kind of stuff, but basically all the more advanced things, steel, rubber, plastic, quartz, that kind of stuff is being transported along these conveyor belts to here. And this is going to be where we set up our more permanent and main base. Grab the present, get it out of my way. And there's a few reasons for this. One, it's in a very large open area with tons of space. So we have plenty of room to build without having to worry about the terrain getting in our way. We've got this absolutely gorgeous view as a backdrop with this waterfall in the background, which also in the future we might be able to use for power or for anything that we need water for. So that's pretty useful. And there's also a ton of resource nodes out here as well. Like, you can kind of look out. If we're very careful, there we go. Let's look out over the desert. Like, look at all these resource nodes. They're all over the place. They're not all pure. In fact, a lot of them are impure nodes. So, we're not going to bother with those, at least for starters. We may down the road. But there's plenty of pure nodes and lots of normal nodes out here as well. So, between episodes, I moved out here. I set up a kind of a temporary / semi-permanent base. Like, I moved out here, I set up the hub, the research thingy, the MAM, little stuff like that. Built the highway, the skyway, I guess we'll call it, that went back to the starting base, set up this whole transportation system. I also set up the basic material processing, iron, copper, and concrete. And then I set up like this storage station. This is not going to be our permanent storage room. This is temporary, but I wanted it to be all organized, and I wanted it to all be in one place. Because one of the problems with the old starter base was that we'd have to run all over it to grab items from here and there, rather than having all the stuff located in one location. So here, it's all being brought to these double industrial storage bins right there. And you can see we've got these items. Everything that we're going to produce in this area is going to come to a centralized storage area. For now, it's going to be here, but eventually, once we build up the, I would go so far as to call it a mega base. It's going to be pretty ridiculously big once it's all said and done. But that will have a dedicated storage room, and we'll have way more items than just this. We're going to be producing tons of stuff, but I want to build it kind of over here. And I'm thinking it would be cool. We get rid of this ramp. Imagine the skyway feeds directly into like a large tower right here, and then feeds out the bottom of it, and then we've got the waterfall as like a backdrop, and this area is just so beautiful. Like, I know it's a desert, but just that waterfall as a backdrop, so good. Anyway, I set up that whole thing. Also, I've been messing around a little bit with signs, so all of these industrial bins are labeled with signs, and I set up a to-do list. So create the skyway, organize storage, as you can see, those are checked off, and then encased industrial beam factory, modular frame factory, and stator factory. These are on my to-do list. I want to do a fuel power plant, and I need to work on advancing to the next tech tier. I did tear down the space elevator from over there because I want to move it to over here somewhere. But we don't really need it right now because we're not going to be putting anything in it for a while, so we'll just kind of leave it be. But I think the first thing I want to do is encased industrial beams. So these are basically made using steel beams and concrete. Here we go. So 4 steel beams, 5 concrete makes 1 encased industrial beam, and I believe right kind of over there-ish are all the necessary resources we need, or the resource nodes, I should say, to set up like a pretty solid encased industrial beam factory. We've got, I believe, 3 normal coal nodes over there. We've got some iron nodes, and then we have, I believe, 2 pure limestone nodes. So we'll be able to set up everything we need, and then just lots of machines and stuff, and ultimately pipe it back here. So that's what I'm going to work on right now, because those encased industrial beams are super useful. That's what we use for our Mark IV conveyor belts and lifts. So if we want to be using these, which we definitely do, we're going to need a ton of them. Plus they get used for lots of other various things as well. So that's my next step. Let me get to it. Alright, my friends, I do have a bit of a progress update for you. I have finished the encased industrial beam factory, so we've got our coal pulling from these 3 miners right here. These are all miner Mark IIs on normal coal deposits. We have our limestone being pulled from way off there in the distance. It's not that far, but being pulled from over there. And then our iron is actually coming from underneath this platform. There's another miner mark there. They're all miner Mark IIs. The iron and the limestone are overclocked, so that I could get all of the materials I needed from just those. But then ultimately it comes up here. Over on that side we have our constructors making concrete. Over on this side we have our foundries making steel ingots. Then the steel ingots and the concrete go into some storage containers here. The concrete just goes straight to the assemblers for the encased industrial beams. The steel ingots come over here to constructors to be turned into steel beams, which then ultimately route back to those assemblers to make our encased industrial beams. This is not a load balanced system, so it's not always, it's not distributing all the resources evenly right from the get-go. What'll happen is, since I'm doing, I wanted to make this a little bit more space efficient, so what'll happen is basically the resources will slowly fill up, this one first, and then the next one, and then the next one, and so on, and eventually it will run at 100% efficiency once everything is full beforehand, but it'll take a while of it running for that to happen. But that's totally fine. It made it so I could fit this in a much smaller space than I would have if it was completely load balanced. So let's dismantle this lookout tower, and then once the beams are produced, they follow. They go into a storage container here. This was just kind of temporary, actually. This can. Is there anything in here? No. We can just get rid of that now. Why is this a Mark II conveyor belt? This does not need to be a Mark II conveyor belt. We're producing, like, I don't know, 24 per minute or something like that. Let's just swap all these out. There we go. Once this is running at full capacity, we'll be producing a grand total of 6 industrial beams per assembler. There are 4 assemblers, so there'll be 24 industrial beams per minute. It's not a lot, but it will definitely last us, and you know, we don't use these that often. This is what you use for the Mark IV belts, but then ultimately the conveyor belt follows this way. It jumps up above our limestone line and keeps going, and then goes above our concrete line, bringing it all the way back to our factory. Also, in case you're wondering why I do the jump and slide, it's the fastest way to move. You get more momentum than you would otherwise. But then ultimately, it pops up to here where the inputs are for our storage. And I realized that I showed you the front of the storage, but I didn't actually show you the back of the storage. And there's some like semi-clever stuff going on there. So yo, ladders are the bane of my existence. Just jump up onto this conveyor belt here. Okay, there we go. So then these belts all feed over here to some lifts. And then I do actually have a ladder. Here we go. Okay, so the back of our storage system basically consists of 2 separate lines. One on this row of foundations and one on this row of foundations. So what happens is the materials follow their conveyor belt, and then eventually they hit one of these 2 rows of smart splitters. I needed to split it into 2 separate lines because all the excess items, I wanted to feed them directly into these awesome sinks. And 1 row of awesome sink belts would not be able to support even close to all the items that are ultimately going to get voided. So I decided to make 2 separate lines. But anyway, the items basically come up until they hit one of these smart splitters. If it can go into one of our storage bins, it does so. If the storage bin is full, it gets put onto these awesome sink lines, and they just merge up, and everything feeds its way over here. And that's basically the whole system. It's pretty straightforward. It's just belt into smart splitter, and the smart splitter goes either into one of the storage bins or into one of these 2 lines that ultimately feed into the awesome sink. And then over here I just added a smaller storage container for garbage disposal. This is anything in my inventory, I'm like, I don't want these presents, I can just feed it in there and it'll go directly into the awesome sink. So there we go. I think we can call the encased industrial beam project finished. So I have marked that off on our to-do list. Next is the modular frame factory. Well, the frames ended up being a little bit of a bigger project than I anticipated, but I've got it all finished, and we should be producing 20 modular frames per minute on this whole setup. Now, this looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. Let's break it down into smaller chunks. So we have 2, there's one hiding behind this rock, but we have 2 Mark II miners producing 480 iron ore that then gets smelted by 16 smelters here and converted into iron ingots. Of those iron ingots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them get sent to constructors to be turned into iron bars. 6 more get turned into iron bars that then ultimately get turned into screws with 12 constructors here, and the remaining iron ingots get turned into iron plating. So the iron plating and the screws go to those 2 storage bins right there, and then feed into 6 assemblers here to make the reinforced iron plating for the project, and that feeds into this storage bin. This is reinforced iron plates. You can see them feeding here. And then the remaining iron bars that we're producing over here combine with the reinforced iron plates to go into 10 assemblers here to make the actual modular frames. So that's basically the setup. The belts here, the only real difficult part as far as the belts go was this section. This is a load balancer. I had to look up how to do this. I just Googled it. But it's basically how to split a single input into evenly distributed, load balanced, to 5 outputs. And it's a little wonky, but I made it work, and then I just did it twice because there's 10 assemblers. But that's basically the setup. As I said, we're now producing 10 modular frames per minute. Don't take fall damage. And then those modular frames, as always, are being transported all the way back to our storage area over there. I have finished setting up the stator factory, and this was actually a lot less involved than the modular frame. This one was actually pretty easy. It's relatively small. This will produce, I believe, 20 stators per minute, and we basically just have 3 miners. These are all underclocked a little bit to fit the ratios, but 1 for copper, 1 for coal, and 1 for iron. I don't know which one's which off the top of my head, but either way, the coal makes, the coal and the iron combine to make steel, which gets turned into steel pipes. The copper gets smelted into copper ingots and turned into wire. They ultimately get combined in 4 assemblers here and spit out stators. That's pretty much it. 2 foundries, 4 smelters, 8 constructors for copper wire, 3 constructors for steel pipes, 4 assemblers. The end. Pretty straightforward, and none of this belt work was difficult at all either, so piece of cake. Our list is looking pretty good. I mean, we've checked off 3 things so far. Fuel power plant, that's definitely something I want to do, but I kind of feel like I should probably wait for the next episode for that one, because that is going to be a pretty large project, I think. So, advance to the next text here. I tore down the space elevator that was at our starter base, and I've created a little bit of a platform here for it. Let's just... Oh, I need more iron rods. I spent them all. Okay. Storage. Let's just grab like one more. There we go. Also, little temporary assembler setup right here. Nothing too crazy. Just basically 2 industrial storage bins that feed evenly distributed into 2 assemblers and output to this storage container. So if there's anything I need manufactured that I don't have like a proper automated setup for, I can just kind of throw the materials in there manually and it will do it for me. But anyway, space elevator. Looks like that is roughly centered right about there. Oh yeah, that looks good. Let's throw that down. This is quite an animation. Look at it go. I love all the little, like, details and stuff in this game. And then from the sky, you see things slowly work its way down. This will connect. There it comes. And now we can find out what it is we actually need. So that'll hook up. And, space elevator. Good stuff. This ladder. This is really dangerous, by the way. I should probably, figure something better out here. But this is also largely temporary, so whatever. Okay, actually, you know what? I don't even need to look at the space elevator, because the things that we need are right up here for us. So, let's see. We need, if we look at this, can we make any of the space elevator parts here? Versatile framework. Okay, that requires steel beams and modular frames. Okay, well, we just automated the production of modular frames. We've already automated the production of steel beams. That should be pretty easy. All we have to do is throw the necessary materials into an assembler and let it kind of go. Then we need some other stuff that I don't recognize. So let's make a manufacturer here real quick. What do I need? 5 motors, 50 plastic. Okay. Oh, that screws. Give me plastic. I'm already... There we go. Let's just grab some motors, or some stators over here so we can make motors, I should say. There we go. And then I believe I have some of the heavy frames or whatever in here. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I have motors in here too. Fantastic. Even better. Okay, so we have everything we need for a manufacturer. I'm not actually going to, set this up here for good, but I want to throw it down just so we can get an idea. Okay, so we need modular engines, which require motors, rubber, and smart plating. We do actually have a bunch of smart plating back at the base. Probably enough to make all of this. So we just need 1,000 motors, and we should have the rubber already. And we just created, we have stators and rotors automated, so we should just be able to throw those together into this setup here to make the motors we need. So that shouldn't be too bad. And then the other one we need are adaptive control units, which require automated wiring, circuit boards, heavy modular frames, and computers. Okay, this one's going to be a little rough, but it looks like we only need 100 of them. So Yeah, this is still going to be quite an undertaking, and I can tell you right now, we are not going to finish it in this episode, because, like, we've already put, I think I checked my playtime at the end of last episode. There's been, like, 25 hours that have gone into this episode already, between moving everything over, creating the sky bridge, and all this other stuff. This has been a very busy episode, but we have more yet to do. It never ends. This is going to be a little bit more ridiculous than I thought. You know, I saw the versatile framework and thought, hey, no big deal. We're already making all the stuff that goes into that. Yeah, we need 2,500 versatile framework. And each one for every 2 of those, we need 12 steel beams. That means to make the 2,500 versatile framework, we need 15,000 steel beams. To put that into perspective, if I have done my math correctly, a full double storage unit of steel beams is 9,600. So we need like a storage bin and a half, roughly, just for the versatile steel beams. That's just ridiculous. I'm making some here. You know, we're making progress, but my goodness, this is going to be a bit more of a grind than I thought. I've also set aside some of the other resources over here that we're going to need for the other space elevator parts. And I have redone my list. So, fuel power plant and advanced next tech tier, these are still on the list. I also want to automate black powder, mostly because there's some stuff in here, like tool belt, larger pockets, you know, rifle and rifle cartridges. This stuff, a lot of this requires the black powder. Plus, we can use it to make the boom explodey charges, which are always fun. So I want to automate that. Shouldn't be too difficult to do. I also want to automate circuit boards. I want to expand our steel production because what we're doing right now, like, it's working for us, but we need so much more of it. I want to finish the quartz research in the MAM. So 3 things here. We have the Explorer, the radar technology, and radio signal scanning. And all of these should be very doable. We could do all of these pretty easily. So that shouldn't be too hard at all. And then I also want to start the mega base and actually, you know, start getting some foundations down, start getting some shape figured out. I need to do some research for visual inspiration. I definitely have some ideas, but, you know, it never hurts to look for a little bit more. So that's also on the list. But yeah, this is our new to-do list, updated and improved. And I can tell you right now, the space elevator stuff, the advanced to next tech tier, that's going to take some doing. That's going to be a while. Yeah, lots of grindy stuff there. But you know what? I have spent a lot of time on this episode. I know, like, video-wise, it's probably a little bit shorter than normal. But I've put so much time into this one that I think I need to call this one right here so I can work on getting it edited and out to you fine people. So, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Links in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.